someone say that Ryan don't fight on the back foot. Adrian Broner kind of. And when I say Inoue, who's been knocked down by two different fighters, is chinny, all of a sudden, y'all ready to go?
All right, guys, what's up? So this is a new segment I'm going to be bringing to the channel, boxing narratives. And what better time to start it, introduce it after a long weekend of boxing. I'm going to give this a minute or so to see who wants to jump on. It's 11 a.m. here in Sydney, 9 p.m. on the East Coast in America, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. Read the headline, like this video, make sure you're subscribing. We're going to talk about these false narratives that are going around, and specifically this dude named Champside, which I never heard of him until now. He has a pretty good following on YouTube, 185,000 subs. I disagreed with him yesterday on Instagram about Inoue being chinny, and he blocked me. So I don't know much about this guy. Like I said, I just heard about him. I'd love to do a debate with him about his boxing knowledge or lack thereof. What I've noticed in my short time here on YouTube is that a lot of American boxing YouTubers who have these huge followings will be one-sided. They'll hate on a lot of fighters and they'll only like their certain few. And so I actually thank those YouTube boxing content creators, because over time, those are the ones who look like idiots. Because boxing, you can't bring emotions into it, especially if you're trying to document the sport of boxing. The more emotional you get, the more casual you look. And I called him a casual, and he blocked me. So we'll get to that in a second. What's an American doing in Australia? Ali Point. America, what? We're not allowed to leave America? Yeah, I left America in 2013, mate. After I finished a post-grad degree in Las Vegas, Nevada. But if you want my story, you got to buy one of my books. I'm a published author. The links are in the bio. So I'm a writer. You can learn all about my story in those books. Let's talk boxing. Fake narratives number 1. Teofimo Lopez is ready to fight Jaron Ennis at 147. I'm going to let that simmer. I want to hear your thoughts on that. We know that Teo is coming off an impressive performance against Arnold Barboza Jr. He outpointed him. I mean, was it the most exciting fight? No. On a card that was, equally as flat, was it the performance that stood out even on that flat Times Square card? No. I felt Romero's performance, if we had to rank all the performances in Times Square, was the best performance. I thought Teo did enough to beat Barboza. He was flashy. He showed what he has, his skill set. But is he ready to fight Jaron Ennis at 147? What do you guys think about that? Make sure you like this video, as well as answer that first narrative right now in the comment section below. Is Teofimo Lopez ready to fight, or if ever, Jaron Ennis at 147? Wilmer Ramirez, he's not ready. And Wilmer, I'll let that soak. We'll let that simmer before I give you my take on that. What did Teo do better than Barboza? He was faster than Barboza. Did he hurt Barboza? Was either fighter hurt at any point? No. A lot of the fight happened in movement against the ropes. We didn't see too many exchanges in the middle of the ring. When you watch a Jaron Ennis fight, look, you got to give credit when credit's due, no matter where a fighter is from. I could show Jaron Ennis' highlights to my mom. She's this little Italian immigrant who knows nothing about sports. She would be able to say, oh, that kid, that dude's, he's talented. Jaron Ennis is special. He's explosive. He's fast. He's a finisher. He has power in his hands. I like everything, and he's still young. Both guys are young. I think Teofimo Lopez saw something. These guys go back to their amateur days, so they have been connected their entire times as amateurs and pros. Maybe he thinks, and Teo's as confident as you're going to get. He doesn't think he's going to get beat by anybody. So hats off to Teofimo Lopez. He's fun to watch. I'm a fan of Teo. I like when he's at his best. He's really an outcome of what hard work, God-given talent, and preparation looks like when you see Teofimo Lopez box. Now I'm going to Teo is just too small, but I recently met Teo in New York City. He was cool, makes me feel biased and reform. And that, guys, in Seagar, that's the beautiful part about boxing. A lot of these, I'm old. I can't speak for you guys. I just turned 43. So as I get older, I remember when I was 23. So as a 43-year-old, my opinion changes on these fighters. When I was 23, they were my age, they were my peers, right? At 43, I look at these guys in their mid-20s as kids. And sometimes people hear me call a fighter a kid on a channel and they get offended. We live in a very soft culture that you could take me calling Teofimo a kid and being offended by that. Whatever it is, these are still young men, and it's a blood sport, and you hear that a lot. Look at Rafael Espinosa last night after his devastating performance against Edward Vasquez. He goes straight to the triage unit, and I did a short about it. You can see video of Espinosa getting emotional because he sees his opponent that he beat up the entire fight, and he was emotional because he didn't want to see his opponent hurt. You know, these guys don't want to, you want to be the best version of yourself each fight. You want to go in there, it's like personal development. How much better am I today than I was in my last fight? But I don't think there's many fighters out there going in there wanting to physically hurt, damage, or ruin the lives of their opponent. And Teofimo Lopez, at the end of the day, is a young superstar, pro athlete who I've heard a lot of good things about. Is he ready for Jaron Ennis? No way. I don't think that fight goes well for him. There's some boxing channels that are promoting that fight. I'm not going to be one of them. I'm going to say it like it is. And when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I picked ABJ to beat Teo. I told you guys I was wrong about that. Barbosa Jr. just didn't have enough arsenal, didn't have enough firepower to beat Teofimo. He wasn't fast enough. He wasn't quick enough. He didn't have anything to hurt him. But all those variables going into the fight, that's why I thought it was interesting. Now, false narrative, I don't think Teo could even hold a candle to this version of Jaron Ennis. Not anytime soon. Ennis is a big guy, cuts a lot of weight to get to 47. So I'm going to call that narrative a false narrative. Let me know in the comments section below your thoughts on it. We're going to move forward with our second boxing narrative of the week. Teo's just too small. Okay. Second one, Ryan Garcia, performance-enhancing PEDs, the Haney fight versus the Romero fight. I want to hear your guys' take on this. It's easy for boxing analysts, boxing content creators, and haters to play armchair quarterback. You guys know this whole last year, I've been taking the side of I'm anti-performance enhancing athletes. Like, if you test positive in a blood sport for steroids or PEDs, I wouldn't be against lifetime banning, right? But I'm also not going to be a guy to sit here and throw a young dude away. Ryan Garcia, I was excited to see him back. I wanted to see him what he looked like. And I'm not going to pile on because he got outclassed and he got beat against one of his peers. Romero outboxed him. He outbullied him. He outpowered him. I think Ryan underestimated Rolly. I think Ryan believed all the hype from all the people around him. And if you guys go 2 months ago, I had on this channel a young top rising prospect named Joseph Brown. Joseph Brown comes from Canada, but he's in the Floyd Mayweather, the Money Team camp, and he's a sparring partner of Rolly Romero. And when he was on my podcast, I was asking him about Rolly, and Joseph had nothing but good things to say about Rolly. Said that Rolly's like an older brother to him. Said that he's the hardest worker in the gym. Said that he could crack. And then when you watch Rolly fights, we saw him get knocked out against Tank. People judge him for that. We saw what he looked like against Barossa, even though he won a sketchy decision stoppage. It was an early stoppage. We saw Pitbull stop him. So a lot of people, the casuals, will see those results and they judge Rolly for it. But going into the Rolly-Ryan Garcia fight, you could tell Rolly didn't believe any of that. He went in there and fought like he could win from the very first bell, and he won. And Garcia wasn't able to come back from that second round knockdown. So my question to you guys, was that Ryan Garcia performance an example of an athlete not on performance-enhancing drugs or just being outboxed by an opponent? It's an interesting one. I'll give you my take after you guys answer. Ryan just disappointed me. I agree. Not to make excuses, but it looked like he quit after Rolly knocked him down. I agree. Psychologically, guys, we talk about this all the time. Boxing is one of these sports that in live, real-time action, you have to make these split-second decisions based on your livelihood. And some of those split-second decisions are mental decisions. Do I engage? Do I step back? Do I fire? All these things going on. And we don't think about what it does to the brain when you get rattled. Rolly, watch his highlight tape. He does the double left and he throws everything into it. Also, man, he looked great physically at 47. So we don't know how concussed Ryan was with that first knockdown in the second, with that knockdown in the second. Was it a case that he was concussed, he survived it, and he wanted to just make it to the final bell? We won't know. Only he has those answers. You see a lot of content creators piling on Garcia now, calling him a gearhead, saying that this is what he looks like without PEDs. We know that Paulie Malignaggi has been kind of spearheading this, saying that this is what Ryan Garcia looks without PEDs, rather than the other side. This is what a motivated Rolly Romero looks like. This is what a welterweight version of Rolly Romero looks like. And this is my point about the dangerous false narratives in boxing. Why focus on the guy who lost based on his past performances when you could focus on a dude like Rolly Romero that people gave no chance to, that you guys sold out a long time ago, that is the brunt of a lot of jokes. People say that he's not, doesn't take himself serious and he's not that smart. I see a Rolly Romero who's a dog, who works his ass off, who overcame the odds, and now, mate, a confident Rolly Romero 147, I think that should be the narrative. So I'm going to say false narrative on Ryan Garcia looking as bad as he did because he wasn't on steroids. I'm going to say he looked as bad as he did because Rolly Romero was that dude that night. Boxing narrative, Bud is here for a paycheck. The man has no other. Let's get there. Hakeem Lecco, it's a great narrative, but we're going to talk about this past week. I don't want to jump the gun here, but you have a point. Boxing narrative, Bud is for a paycheck. The man has no other Hall of Fame to put his name. Come on, you know how I stand with that. Bud Crawford's resume, I feel that it's very strong, and you could go all the way back to the UK when he won his first title at 135, the fighters he fought since then. So, I mean, Bud's only fought, you can only fight who they put in front of you, and you could win, and if you win, you keep winning. Nonito said it best. Rolly got the R-word strength. Did Nonito Daenerys say that? So we can't say retard strength anymore. Don't, YouTube, don't, or what, have you guys seen, The Hangover? Alan, retard. So Rolly got retard strength. Okay. Ryan Garcia is a good fighter, but I don't think he's got the skills to be great. And JF, man, how much is it here? You know what I'm saying? Like those skills. I think Ryan has the skills to be great, guys. Ryan's fast. He's twitchy with his lead hook. He has the God-given genetics. It's here though. You know how we can't underestimate that. Guys, if you're tuning in and commenting, JF, Cigar, Boss, Hakeem, like this video. This is how the channel keeps growing. I did a Boss, are you a real boxer or just a fanboy? Boss, I started boxing at 7. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio. I boxed from the time I was 7 until I was 15. But I also played American football, baseball, and basketball. Played baseball in college. I stopped boxing at 15 and then picked it up when I was 31 when I moved to Sydney. And now I run my own private boxing gym and I teach corporate clients in Australia how to box. So like using the sweet science as a self-defense. But Boss, I appreciate it. Are you a fanboy? Hey, you could call me whatever you want. Cigar, I don't know if YouTube would delete it. Something got deleted. This message is held for review. Let's see what we're talking about. I beat you. Young God, I beat your ass. Okay, I'm going to show that. Cool. Anybody who wants to, Young God, Boss, if you want to challenge me, we could do it like gentlemen. I got my own gym down here in Sydney. We could live stream it. You just got to sign a waiver. So I'll send you the location if ever you want to fly to Sydney. Or I come to America twice a year. If you guys want to spar, I'm down with doing that as well. I'm 43 years old. I weigh 180 pounds. So 5'11", 180. So I'm a little bit heavier than a light heavyweight, but I could cut down. Tell me what you guys want. Moving forward, third narrative of the weekend, guys. And this is the interesting one. And this is the one that gets kind of controversial. America, no. I'm in Sydney, Australia. This is the one that gets controversial. Haney versus Ramirez. We know how that fight played out, guys. We know what Jim Lampley, he should be ashamed of himself. And I'm a Jim Lampley guy. I think I'm still admiring Jim Lampley from the Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward days, and that was in 2003. It's been 2 decades since Lampley was been at his best. We know that he retired. We know what happened to Showtime, and we know that the Ring magazine in Turkey brought Lampley back. He did terrible in Times Square. His analysis work was awful. He didn't talk anything proactively good about any of the boxers, especially that Haney-Ramirez fight. So the narrative is this. We see the Haney-Ramirez fight happen here, and we see all the hate. Haney's running, Haney's putting people to bed, and then you have Canelo versus Skull, and you have this narrative here the very next day in Riyadh, and here comes my question. So you have Haney-Ramirez. Haney's fighting former Jose Ramirez, who's a world champion, only 32 years old. Ramirez couldn't cut the ring off. You know what I'm saying? So Haney's using his lateral movement. Ramirez can't cut the ring off. Haney still lands 70 punches, more punches than Canelo or Skull lands. But the narrative of the Haney versus Ramirez was that Haney ran the whole time, not that Ramirez couldn't cut the ring off. Okay, Canelo versus Skull. Canelo, this guy picked Skull. He knows what he's up against. He knows that Skull is a Cuban-style boxer. We covered it on the channel all last week what that fight was going to be about. That Canelo's never done good against movers and that his feet he doesn't have the best footwork. So against Skull, he's going to have to cut off the ring. Canelo doesn't cut the ring off. doesn't land more than what? I think 56 punches, 56 to 55, and their narrative was don't ever bring Skull in for a fight again. Guys, if the sport was tie each other's front foot into the middle of a tire, like in the Creed movie, or like in my boxing gym when I was a kid, put the front foot in the tire and go at it, then that's a whole different thing. Call it for what it is. But it's boxing. Styles make fights. The shit that the negativity Skull took when it should have been Canelo, Canelo should have been the one, hey, mate, you got to learn to cut the ring off. But the same exact thing happens with Haney, and it's Haney was running the entire time, but Ramirez couldn't cut the ring off. So who had the better performance? What Lampley sounded like an old hater. He a legend, but that was whack, Meech. I'm on you with that. JDM winning this Saturday against Bilal. I don't think so. I'm going with Bilal Muhammad. That's my boy. I think Bilal beats Jack Della Maddalena, by the way. Gold Meme BR. Turkey just announced that Garcia versus Haney 2 will take place inside it. That's the dude. Gold Meme. That gold member inside an elevator would be great. That's it, dude. They're doing pillow fights on DAZN. There's a new DAZN fucking promo for pillow fighting. So let's get some elevator fighting. And I've seen the car jiu-jitsu. The jiu-jitsu guys are doing jiu-jitsu matches in a car. Let's do a boxing match in a goddamn elevator. That's a good idea. Boss, are you serious? I have crazy skills. I don't think, with all due respect, to make it long with me, but it's all respect. That's all good. I don't even know you. Gold member. Canelo did everything perfectly. Henny was running like he had PSC. Canelo did everything perfectly. So you think, are we being facetious here? So you think Canelo cut off the ring? Canelo couldn't hit Skull. William Skull avoided Canelo for 12 rounds. It's boxing. You have to be able to have the skills to cut the ring off. Side-to-side movement, footwork. It's kind of like a quarterback. Watch your favorite quarterback leading your favorite receiver. You don't throw the ball to where the receiver's going to be. You throw the ball to where the receiver's going to be like this. Canelo has to use his footwork to cut him off where he's going to be less predictable. He couldn't do that. He looked uninterested. And here's my next fake narrative. How important does a crowd play into the performance of the fighters? Times Square, no crowd. You had VIPs, but there was no crowd. Don't get it twisted and get offended when I say Saudi Arabia crowds are awful. It's just not in their culture. They're boring. They're drab. It's not going to be like a Mexican-American crowd. It's not going to be a UK crowd. So you have the Times Square crowd, which was nothing. You have the Riyadh crowd, which was nothing. And then you have that top-ranked crowd in Vegas for Inoue versus Cardenas and Vasquez versus Espinosa, which was insane. So the relevance of the crowd matters, and I think that Turkey needs to learn that. And I'm not too excited. So Turkey makes a deal with Dana White, and we know the UFC, what's happened since the pandemic, to avoid all of the restrictions. They started fighting in the Apex in Las Vegas with no crowds in this tiny-ass little, basically, garage gym. And fighters since 2020 have said they don't want to fight in that setting because there's no crowd. You feed off the crowd. So to think that Turkey feels that he could just pay the fighters as much as he wants and he could, put as much production into it, but he's forgetting one thing. He's forgetting the importance of the fans being there, what that does for the athletes and their performance. I think we saw that in Las Vegas. You got Inoue shooting T-shirts at the crowd, an American crowd chanting Inoue. It was amazing. So that's something to think about as well. I think boxers need public to pump them up. I feel you on that. We need to blame Eddie. Also, he was telling him not to go for it and just win the round because Skull was a runner. Awful advice, Jimmy. Kudos to you. Meech, Canelo Crawford and Legion is dope. American East, 100%. Las Vegas, September 12th. Canelo Crawford. I think a lot of people's minds have changed and shifted a bit since we just saw what Canelo just looked like. Inoue recovered very well after that right hand. We're going to talk about that in a second. Yes, the crowd is crucial, not a coincidence. We saw many duds on Turkey. Will, spot on. Andrew Cano, Inoue saved the weekend, 100%. But don't sleep on Rafael Espinosa. We covered the Espinosa fight. 126 pounds. This kid is a superstar. I'm fully sold on this guy. He has a fun, exciting style. 6'1", fighting at 126 pounds. Doesn't really use his range really well. He fights you in the pocket. Those uppercuts are brutal, and he drowns his opponents. And we knew that Vasquez coming to that fight was 17-2 with only 4 knockouts. He wasn't going to have the power to be able to keep Espinosa off of him. And that's what I was telling you guys on my live gambling show, that Espinosa at $1.79 to get the stoppage was the money pick, and we got that. Here's the last narrative, guys, and this is the one that I got into with Champside. Like I said when I started this video, I don't know who Champside was before I woke up today. I guess he's a YouTuber with 160,000 subs. He blocked me on Instagram, blocked me on Facebook, because he posts a picture in Inoue getting dropped, and he said that Inoue's chinny. and he's overrated, and he's a hype. And all I said was, thank you for the most casual take of the weekend, mate. And he blocked me for that. So what I wanted to tell him, I did my due diligence. I looked at what he posts. He loves Errol Spence, which is fine. EJ was one of my favorite fighters. He loves Stephen Fulton. So his narrative started to make sense. Stephen Fulton got knocked out in the 8th round against Inoue. So every fight from Inoue here on out, he's going to say Inoue's overrated. Guys, Inoue had his first fight at 108 pounds. He went up from 108, won titles at 115, won titles at 118, been at 122 for a few years. What Inoue is not, he's not chinny. Inoue has a chin. For you to be able to get clipped, we saw him get dropped before. This wasn't the first time he got dropped. Neri dropped him. Inoue is a firefighter. This guy's going to fight you in the pocket, and he's going to stay there to get hit, and he's going to, who's going to be more durable. And will he get clipped? Yes, we saw him get clipped. But what he's not is an Amir Khan. No offense to Amir Khan, great skills. But when Amir would get clipped, lights would be out. Sometimes he'd go unconscious. He couldn't come back from the dead. We saw what happened when Ryan Garcia got dropped in the 2nd. Yeah, he made it to the 12th. He couldn't come back from the dead psychologically. Naoya Inoue is a dog. This dude is they call him the monster for a reason. Because think about his recovery time in the moment. The crowd was going insane. Everybody was shocked. And he recovers, survives that round, and then gets the stoppage. You ask me if Inoue's chinny, I'd say no. He's a perfect example of having a chin. You want a guy who has faith in his chin, that it could get tested, that his lights won't go out, because that's a whole nother thing. You could get dropped, and then your lights go out. That's a whole different animal, and we haven't seen the lights go out on Inoue, and we'll see what happens. I feel 122 is still perfect for him. I know a lot of people, Shushu wants that fight at 126. I want to see him fight Rafa at 126. But I want to see Junto go up from 18 to 22. They're talking about somewhere in 2026, Nakatani versus Inoue at 122. So I feel that they did it. I think they mentioned that they're going to go for that Nick Ball fight, I'm pretty sure, or MJ. Either the MJ fight or Nick Ball at 22. We'll see what happens. I'd rather see MJ versus Inoue. No offense to Nick Ball fans, but just stylistically, I think that'd be a more fun match. MJ versus Inoue right now. Not to say that Nick Ball at 126 probably could take place later on down the road. American fan base is pretty ignorant and casual nowadays. I agree. It's how you come back makes 100 more. Andrew Cano, 100%. Guys, like this video. Everyone commenting, like this video so we can get boosted up. I hate saying this to you guys. I don't ask you for anything, but I know it helps. CC Productions, damn, that fool on Instagram blocked you. Yep, he blocked me for calling him a casual. Johnny, who do you think wins Dubois Usyk? Love that fight. CCHJ. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover that fight in depth. I'm going to give that fight its proper acknowledgement. We covered the first fight. We know how that first fight ended. The low blow that wasn't or was. There was some controversy to it. We talked about Dubois' mental state, thinking that he had won the fight, and then, having the ref say that you have to fight on. All that aside, I'm going to cover that in depth before I give you my prediction. Inoue will fight September and December. 100 and September. He likes to stay active. Inoue versus Tank, big fight. Tank fights at 135, guys. Inoue fights at 122. How does that? I don't see that fight ever making sense. Johnny, who do you like in the Shiraz-Berlanga fight? Ryan, I'm really interested to see what Shiraz looks like at 168, especially coming off that draw against Carlos Adames. I covered that fight. I thought Adames did enough to win the fight. The saving grace was that it was a draw, and Adames didn't give his belt away. Shiraz said he never felt right at 60. He said 68 is his more natural weight class. We saw them stare down in Times Square. He's tall. He's the taller guy. We're just going to see the pedigree. I think it's going to come down to the pedigree of those two fighters, Berlanga versus Shiraz. I think right now, because, Berlanga has that Canelo rub. It's kind of one of these things that, look at any good championship team. If I could use an NBA analogy, before the Bulls were the Bulls, Michael Jordan lost all those series to the Pistons, and then so on and so forth. You could see this with fighters. A fighter that might not be fighting at their best level gets a world title fight against a world champion, loses, but then comes back and becomes a world champion. So I'm thinking that Berlanga is going to take a lot out of those rounds that he went with Canelo, and I think right now I'd have to give the edge in terms of what they've done so far in their career with Berlanga. We know he's super confident, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you he beat Shiraz. I gotta sit and think about that a little bit longer. That fight's coming up as well. How about the Mateys put Dude, Matias Puello fight. Alberto Puello. So, Matias Puello, that's a fun fight. The thing about Alberto Puello, man, he's a mover. He's a slick boxer. He does a lot of things well. He fights long. His management of control and range, of distances and range is really good. And Subaru Matias is kind of a one-trick pony. We know what he wants to do. He wants to set up his power. So I think from a game plan perspective, it wouldn't take Alberto Puello too long to come up with a game plan to beat Matias. But when that fight gets closer, I'll give you my prediction. Ryan, great matchup. I'm feeling very confident on Berlanga knockout. I'm not mad at that as well. It's very telling that Charlo doesn't thrive at Planet all. He's mentally... Well, Charlo, we have a lot of fights coming up, guys. Inoue fought a Subway employee. Japanese love their... All right. So this was our first installment of Fake Narratives. We're going to be doing this after the weekend of fights every week. But, guys, stay tuned. My Friday morning, 11 a.m., your Thursday evening, 6 p.m. on the West Coast, 9 p.m. on the East Coast, I'll be giving you live stream the gambling bets. So I'll be telling you where to put your money at, match bets and prop bets and the locks. We're covering a lot of fights this week. I already gave you my analysis and prediction of the co-main event happening this weekend in San Diego at the Pechanga Resorts, and that fight's going down between, and that's already up on the channel right now. That's Duar Abdullayev versus Muratalla versus Abdullayev. That's up on the channel now, but the main event is Navarrete. So Navarrete is fighting a very tough Filipino fighter, Suarez. So Charlie Suarez versus Navarrete is the main event. But we have a big card in the UK and another card I'm going to be covering in the States. So stay tuned to the channel, guys. Like this video, comment. Also, I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's get after it. What Khabib say to all the ones who want to spar? Send location.